All right, let's talk about some common computer science degree myths and misconceptions. This is mostly a guide for freshmen and newcomers and maybe even sophomores, or honestly just anyone in trying to get into computer science in general. Um, but mostly from like an academic college student standpoint. Um, I there's a lot of talks. I hear a lot of things. I talk to a lot of people who have different experiences and different thoughts about how to move along in their journey and stuff like that. And I kind of just want to highlight some of the biggest things I've hear about and address those myths and misconceptions and kind of give you guys a reality check. So just first of all, some logos for you guys. If you don't know, logos is like credibility. I'm a computer science senior. I've been in college for 4 years, so I think I know what I'm talking about. I've had multiple internships. By multiple, I just mean more than one, so two. Um, I've had connections and discussions with professionals and teachers. I've talked to people that are in higher education. I talk to my professors a lot. I ask them a lot of questions, which I honestly suggest you should too. Um, a lot of the computer science professors, no matter the institution, are people who've been there and done what you're doing. So it's probably a good idea to talk to them, even though it's probably been a while because a lot of them are older, but the principles still apply. I'm also a professional looker upper, which means that I basically I do a lot of research regarding like how people go through their computer science degree, and I take every experience with a grain of salt, but there are some what's the word patterns that I recognize in reading up on like people's experience and stuff like that. Also recognizing the negative bias. People only really ever share their experiences when it's going well. People tend to share negative experiences, so keep that in mind if you're also a professional looker upper. And then last thing is, unlike a lot of people, I don't have a course to sell you. I'm not gonna sit here and give you biased information because I want to get something out of you. There's a lot of YouTube videos that'll be like, "Oh, you don't need a computer science degree to work at Apple. Now go buy my course for half the tuition of the local community college." Like, I don't have anything like that. So you know that this is coming genuinely from the heart. So yeah, that's just a little exclaimer. All right, so the first misconception is programming is all there is to computer science. This is a very newbie take. Most of you guys probably already know this is not true. While programming is definitely important, CS is way more broad than just programming. There's algorithms, data structures, computation theory, mathematics, networking, databases, machine learning, cybersecurity, all that stuff. So, um, if you're someone who's like probably I don't know. There's some tryhards in high school who like know Java and Python and C++ plus plus, and they grind leak code every day. You think you're gonna go into computer science and become a god? You're in for a rude awakening. You better brush up on these other stuff, on these other concepts as well, because simply knowing how to write code isn't gonna get you very far. Honestly, if that's all you want to do, then you should honestly just go to a boot camp. Like a university is not something you should be investing in if all you want to do is program. You can do that without college. Um, so you might be asking, okay, then why every time I look up computer science, I see like programming stuff like that? It's just because we use programming to implement some of these things. Like we use programming to implement data structures. We use programming to implement mathematics. Um, you know, if you now on the flip side, if you really think it's useless, you can do all these things by hand. Be my guest, but you're gonna be a lot slower than everybody else. So I highly don't recommend it. Um, and then that leads me to my next thing is the misconception number two is I need to learn every language or I need to learn as much languages as possible. And I'm just gonna sit here and tell you straight up, as someone who only knows like I'd say I know like five, but that's only because I've worked with them, not because I like went on my way to learn them. Um, I'm gonna say do not learn a language for the sake of adding it to your skill list. It's not like a video game where like you grind an XP and now that you know how to write COBOL, that you're somehow like a better programmer than someone who only did Python or C++. That's not how it works. If you really want to just add as much skills on your resume or like boast about it, just at that point just lie. I'm just lie about how many you know. What are they gonna do? Give you a tech interview on the spot? Um, for every programming language, you're gonna spend hours on that. No one wants to do that. No one really cares. Instead, what you should focus on is the foundational concepts and focus on learning that using like one of the foundational languages like C++, Java, or even Python, honestly. But I would recommend Python as the first one. It's okay to start with, but um, go a little bit mid level like C++ or even C, honestly, and then take it from there. I have a whole thing on our Discord about where to start, but you should really focus on learning the concepts, and you can use any language honestly to learn the concepts. So this is not a misconception, but I want to follow up on that. So like, what are the concepts, right? So these are just some of them, not all of them, but most of them. The most important ones is like you want to learn control structures, variables, input and output, how to set up object-oriented programming, and how to implement the various data structures like linked lists, stacks, queues, and all that good stuff, hash tables, binary trees, all that stuff. You want to know how it's implemented. And then like once you learn all of that within like a specific programming language context, then you can say, okay, yeah, I learned the language. But honestly, like it's all the same, right? Like the difference between object oriented programming and Java and object oriented programming and C++ plus plus is just a little bit of syntax rules. But it's all pretty much the same. You have the objects, you have the methods, you have private, public variables, all that good stuff. So next misconception is that getting good grades is the most important thing. I feel like honestly, out of all the STEM fields, computer science grades matter the most. I mean, the least. Sorry, they matter the least. Obviously, you want to do well in school, but like, there's a reason why you don't go to someone's professional resume and say, and you see something like A plus in operating systems, or something like that, or maybe they might want to flex their 4.0 GPA, and that's fine. But I'm just saying, especially now, there's like so many ways to cheese the school system now that employers don't care. You can pass. Honestly, anyone can pass. Anybody. I'm telling you, anybody can pass computer science 1 and 2 now, just because of Chat GPT. Like, so it's not, what I'm saying, it's not the most important thing. Like I said, do well in it, but what really matters is your effort outside the classroom. Employers are really more interested in like your self studies, your if you do any research, or if you really take it to the next level outside of the classroom. That's a little bit more impressive than getting an A in certain courses. Which leads me to my next thing about school is like some people think that all they need is a school curriculum. I'm just gonna say, like, I don't care if you're in Princeton or Harvard or whatever overpriced institution. You will never learn everything that you need to know in the span of 4 years. There's multiple reasons for that. It's not because computer science is like this god tier, like insanely hard subject. It's because that like trends change, right? Technology that was here 10 years ago is not the same as the technology that we have now. Things are always getting innovative, things are always new, and schools can't really keep up as well. Right now in the applied operating systems course at my school, they're having people create virtual machines, right? And it seems simple until you realize that the textbooks doesn't really go over what to do when you have an M1 Mac and you want to virtualize an operating system that is designed to run on x86 systems or x64 systems. Um, at that point, you're screwed, right? So school isn't always going to be reliable in terms of like giving you all the information that you need. And once again, I feel like computer science is one of the biggest victims of technology improving, because chemistry, chemistry has like breakthroughs like now like once every like 50 years. I could be wrong about that, but you get the point. Like if someone, whatever is being taught in chemistry now, it will still apply like 20 years later. I can't say exactly the same for a lot of computer science concepts, not concepts, but a lot of like specialized computer science stuff. So that's why in the computer science curriculum, first of all, there's not really a defined curriculum as far as I'm concerned. Schools kind of just do their own thing, but they kind of copy off each other. Um, But for the most part, it's all just surface level stuff that are like spread too thin to kind of get you in the sort of in the headspace of thinking about what you want to do, like and specialize in. But it doesn't really go too in depth because like things change, like I said. So don't expect the school to tell you everything that you need to know. You're gonna come out even after you get your degree. There's gonna be things that you don't know, and even when you're well into your career, there's gonna be things that you don't know. I talk to professionals and they say they gotta learn something new like almost every week, and that's facts. Which leads me to the next thing, which kind of it sounds like it conflicts, but pay attention to the underlined word. Um, you might be inclined to think like, oh, okay, then I have to specialize, right? Well, that's another misconception is that I have to specialize early. And when I say early, I mean like, like freshman, sophomore, and then maybe like the first half of your junior year, you're kind of stressing over what you want to specialize in. And I'm gonna say no. Explore as many options. There's so many things, front end, back end, full stack, data analysis, information technology. You can even do education if you want to specialize in AI, cybersecurity, biotechnology, bioinformatics. Like I'm telling you, it's just whatever you want, right? It's good to have an idea of what you want to do, but don't box yourself in because you're gonna limit your opportunities in your career choice. And then when you get into the headspace of like, oh, I want to only do data analysis, when it comes time for you to do like maybe like a web dev internship, well now you've soft locked yourself from that path, and you can't get an opportunity because you told yourself by the time you walked into class freshman year that you're just gonna only do web dev, which is not good. You want to, as you're young, you want to do as much things as possible, and you might learn something about yourself. And even if it's not a good experience for you, experience is experience, whether good or bad. And you're just like chopping one thing off of the long list of career paths. So it's good to narrow it down to by just trying everything. Number six, I hate this one, but it has to be talked about because a lot of people say it. The misconception of if I don't go big tech, then I'm doomed. And I'm just gonna say here, first of all, you're doomed if you keep worshiping big tech. And what I mean by that is, if you think that Thing or like the top 500 country companies are the only things that you can do, then enjoy the rat race of the pardon my language dick measuring contest that every like computer science student joins as soon as they get out of college. Instead, if you're really stressing about big tech, look into small companies, startups, research projects with professors, because they all offer the same, if not better, learning experiences as other big tech companies. And this myth is honestly, to me, from what I've experienced, is what's causing the whole CS is cooked ideology in the first place. If someone tries to tell you, if someone tries to sit here and tell you that they look for jobs in computer science and they couldn't find anything, the biggest litmus test to see if they really tried is ask them like what specific roles were they looking for? And they're gonna say things like full stack engineer, software developer, software engineer, like these broad big tech company roles that, are really only reserved for people who either know someone in the company or someone with 7 years of experience. You didn't really look, you just kind of glanced around in the front page of LinkedIn and then said, oh, well, I guess it's over for me. Be better. Another misconception that people might not have, but they probably think intuitively, and then that is that AI and machine learning are easy now that we have generative AI. I don't think I need to explain why this is wrong. I'm just gonna skip over that. Number 10, a CS job means that I'll be on a computer 24/7. So I'm guilty of thinking like this, but honestly, the reality is like you'll be talking to more people than you ever did in your personal life. Assuming that you're an introvert, maybe if you're an extrovert, maybe you'll talk to less people in computer science. But for the most part, you spend a lot of time not just programming, but you'll be in meetings, you'll be collaborating with stakeholders if you're at a rich company. You'll be talking to fellow coworkers about how to plan and execute. You'll also be planning out solutions to problems before you even touch the code. When I did an internship, I had to make a mobile application, and the first thing that I did was not go open my Xcode and start programming. But instead, what I did was I literally drew up a wireframe for how I'm gonna design the UI and stuff like that before I even think about how I'm gonna implement it. And that honestly helped me. It made programming like streamlined. Like once you have your things planned out with the team and stuff like that, and everything's all good to go. Honestly, the programming part should be like running on the treadmill. It shouldn't really be that big of an issue. But you can only like get to that convenient point in project management if you have the social skills to plan things out and not just be a little hermit on the computer. So that's me telling you guys, if you're new to this, get your social skills in order, because that's also something that interviewers will size you up about. So be likable. Speaking of interviews, here's one misconception. I hate this one too. Is that tech interview and lead code is the only way that companies will evaluate candidates. And I got this little graph here. It's like the lead code like bell curve. And you see like the top like 68% of people are like, lead code, lead code, lead code. I gotta go on lead code. I gotta go on lead code. And then you got the low IQ people who are like, what's that? Like, oh, I never heard of lead code before. And then the high IQ people who are like, I never heard of that either. But honestly, if you don't get the joke, it's basically saying like the real programmers, the real engineers, the real problem solvers understand the value, or rather the lack of value, in sitting down and trying to solve like these interview questions. Like they understand that it's meaningless. Not I'm not gonna say meaningless, but lead code is really just it's a system designed to filter out the high volume of candidates that big tech companies get. And the reason why it's become so popular now is because like they're using it now, and people want to get these like big tech company jobs. So, people go to LeetCode. Sometimes they even pay for subscriptions in LeetCode just to secure these big tech jobs. And honestly, it's not something to stress about. Obviously, learn your data structures, learn your algorithms. But honestly, me personally, I use LeetCode as a little fun activity that I do whenever I want to solve a problem without the stress of like having to complete a whole project, or having a project manager breathing down my neck about how to implement something. So if you want to solve like little isolated problems to keep your mind sharp, LeetCode is the way to go. But if you're doing LeetCode like the 68% here, like stressing over it and stuff like that, just pick up a project at that point. Like I'd say, what I'm saying, like do 50 LeetCode questions in your lifetime and then just do projects. I mean, if you want to do big tech company, if you want to do a big tech company, then fine. Be that 68% guy. Have tears in your eyes to the point where they're red, and maybe they'll give you a shot. But for everybody else who's like not trying to join a rat race, don't even trip. The next misconception, and this one I think has died down now, but I still want to bring it up, and it's just that AI will take our jobs. And I put a little subtext here. It says, "Man, I wish." The joke now is that like we software engineers and programmers, um we wish that we had like a one-click solution to all of our problems. I don't see how that's inherently a bad thing, but honestly, it's not gonna be in our lifetimes. Maybe that's something your grandchildren have to think about. I don't know. I'm not gonna sit here and act like I can predict the future, but honestly, a more probable prediction is that we will just be using AI to like do the hard things, or not hard, but like the tedious stuff easier, like creating a CSV for a database. I would use AI to do that, but then I'd still wouldn't even trust it to set everything up correctly. I'm still gonna have to configure it and stuff like that. So, but at least I don't have to do the CSV by hand, or even like format the CSV rather. Like I would hate to have to do that manually and inside of a text editor. What's the next one? I have more than this. Why did it end here? Oh, wait, what? Man, okay. Usually I have some like closing statements. I just threw this up, but it's like 9 p.m. and I'm tired. But okay. A little transparent closing statement for you guys. So Overall, everyone's experience is different. Um, I know a lot of you guys. There's a lot of anxiety and a lot of questions. The path is foggy, and that's fine. But you take one step at a time, it becomes clearer and clearer. I used to be very naive. I didn't understand a lot of things. But it was only through experiences and trying things and being very open minded about the field as a whole that I was able to learn, you know, like what's truth, what's reality, and what's fiction, right? Um, keep your expectations very reasonable. Be kind to yourself, and good luck to all the freshmen and incoming college students. Stay sharp.